So today was day 10 of the Julian Assange extradition hearing, September 21st, 2020. And the first expert witness that we had is Professor Christian Grothoff. So he is a professor of computer science. Here's his picture. I'm trying to get it up for you. There you go. Yeah, so he's a professor at the Bern University of Applied Sciences. He's an expert in all things IT. And the reason they brought him to testify was so that he could talk about the timeline of the leaks. This is very important, as you'll see in a second. And so the first thing that they start off with, the defense asking Grothoff if the file that contained all the cables, David Lee had possession of this, right? He's the Guardian journalist who leaked the password. So they asked him, if David Lee had possession of this file, can you open it without the password? No. That's how encryption works. Okay, it's useless without the password. So it's an encrypted file. And, he just explains it very simply. It's encrypted without the key, without the password. You can't do anything with it. Okay, it's very important for the defense to establish this because David Lee published the password in his book. There's two parts to this story, okay? So on the one hand, you have David Lee publishing the password to the cables in his book in February of 2011. And at the same time, in August of 2011, you have an article from Der Freitag. And in this article, they gave away the name of the file that contained all the cables. Underwhelmingly, it's called cables.csv. And they also told people that it's available on the internet. So they kind of let people on a wild goose chase, right? So telling them, yeah, it's out there, go look for it. And sure enough, a few days later, the leak happens. So we'll get to that in a second. And you need to understand how this file got out there. So that's what Grothoff explains, is that the file that was encrypted, even though it was encrypted, it might have spread because WikiLeaks were experiencing these denial of service attacks. So in order to compensate and make sure that WikiLeaks could stay online, they encouraged their users to mirror the website. And they put out a guide for this, okay? Now, what Grothoff suspects, and what he said in court today, this is his expert opinion, is that he thinks people that didn't follow the guide, the official guide given out by WikiLeaks, they must have accidentally copied the file that had all the cables in it, along with everything else, crawling into hidden directories inside of the domain. And so they just copied everything over, including this cables.csv. And that's how it probably got onto BitTorrent services, right? And there you go. That's how it spread on the internet, essentially. But it's not because WikiLeaks did it on purpose, okay? They didn't publish this file. They didn't tell anyone to go looking for it. And they didn't include that in their guide in regards to mirroring, okay? So you can see here, these are articles from the time from December 2010 when they were having all of these attacks and then put out these calls for people to mirror their websites. You can see here, they're mirroring to hundreds of servers, and there's a very big undertaking for this. So here was their guide also, how to do that. There you go. Okay, so that's how we're establishing how this file actually got out. Now, when it comes to Der Freitag, okay, so this is the article. And I mean, they actually put the name, like it's right there. Die Datei mit dem Namen cables.csv ist 1,73 Gigabyte groß und enthält schon veröffentlichte Botschaftsdepeschen. So they're giving away the goddamn file name, and they're saying that it's circulating on the internet. Remember, keep in mind this article is from when? 25th of August, okay? This is 4 or 5 days before all the files got dumped. They're talking about the temporary password. Yeah, it turns out it wasn't temporary. Okay, so now it's the prosecution's turn. And you already know what's coming, man. First thing they tried to do, discredit the expert witness, as usual. So they brought up this open letter that WikiLeaks had published calling on Donald Trump to essentially drop the grand jury. This is back in 2017, right? So he signed this letter, Professor Goldhoff, including Daniel Ellsberg and Edward Snowden. A lot of people signed this letter. Now, they tried to paint him as biased because of this. They said, oh, see, you don't like this entire extradition. You signed this open letter. Clearly, you're biased. So he actually said he didn't remember signing it. I don't know if that's true or not, but more importantly, it has nothing to do with his expert opinion, as he said. It doesn't diminish or take away anything that he's saying in regards to IT, which is what the prosecution constantly try to do. They try to paint the witnesses as being partial and biased and therefore making their expert opinion worthless. No. So this was funny because the prosecution asked Kotov, how many people do you think WikiLeaks gave the encrypted files to? And he said he doesn't know, but perhaps David Lee publishing the password in his book might have been the reason it got out to hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah, go figure. So, yeah, here this is very important. The prosecution, they asked him if it's true that around 50 NGOs and news outlets were given access to the cable. So you guys know that the way WikiLeaks approached this is they did have an exhaustive redaction process, and it was over the course of a year. And they went to The Guardian, for example, to do such and such. And they went to people in New Zealand to do the cables that concerned US and New Zealand relations. So they didn't give all of the unredacted cables. They didn't give all of the archives to just one news outlet. No, spread out, right? They worked with Le Monde, they worked with Der Spiegel, they worked with The Guardian. So this was spread out on purpose. And they didn't give the entire thing to everybody. However, the only person, or one of the very few to my knowledge, but I'm pretty sure it's the only person who had the full set is David Lee. Okay? So the only person who had the full set was David Lee. And he badgered Assange for this. Assange did not want to give it to him. And Professor Goldhoff, he even quotes Lee's own book, where you have the password, right? So let me read you this passage from the book. It had been a struggle to prise these documents out of Assange back in London. There were repeated pilgrimages to the Mews house belonging to Vaughan Smith's Frontline Club near Paddington Station before Assange reluctantly turned them over. And that's not all. And that's not all. He also said that when Assange offered him half of the cables, right, he said no. Lee refused. He said all or nothing. What happens if you end up in an orange jumpsuit en route to Guantanamo before you can release the full files? In return, he would give Assange a promise to keep the cables secure and not to publish them until the time came. Yeah, okay, turns out that was a lie. But you see that he had to nag Assange for it, essentially, and scare him. Oh, what happens if they get you? Then you're the only one who has the password. You better give it to me. And then he goes and puts it in his goddamn book. Come on. This is insane. So Goldhoff actually made a really interesting point. He said that the fact they mass mirrored all of these websites might have been a good thing, actually, because it might have helped to conceal and obfuscate the location of the file containing the cables, because the guide that WikiLeaks put out was very clear-cut. Does not involve this file with the unredacted cables, the full set. So the more people copy that guide and mirror the website, the harder it's going to be to look and find the actual file. Because the people who didn't follow the guide and might have used their own approach to mirror the WikiLeaks website and by accident or maybe purposely found that file are a tiny minority in comparison. Do you understand? So he said that it was actually maybe a smart thing. And yeah, here we go again from the Freitag article. So they're just openly saying, schließlich lässt sich eine im Internet kursierende Datei nicht mehr löschen. So they're saying that the file is on the internet and it's not going away. And they're just telling people, not just the name, but they're saying, yeah, it's out there and there's a way to unlock it. It's setting everyone off on a wild goose chase. And sure enough, just a few days later, the goddamn thing is online. Okay? So you understand what the point here is. The point is Julian Assange and WikiLeaks did not plan or intend to release the full set of archives, especially not unredacted. There's a whole chain of events that's going on here with Der Freitag, and there's also a Danish newspaper that did the same article with David Lee, who forced their hand, okay? So if you look here, and this was, they had to take like a 15-minute recess just because of time zone issues. This was ridiculous. I mean, the expert witness, Professor Gotov, he had to look for a tweet just to show them, like, hello, look at the timestamp. This is before WikiLeaks published the article, the archives rather. So I actually found one even earlier than the one he was pointing out, but here are some of them. So this is from Nigel Parry, right? So if you look here, this is August 31st, right? At 6 p.m. And he's talking about Cablegate, right? So the archives, the unredacted. You see? So he put two and two together. He put two and two together. Now, I actually found one even earlier than this. Over here. This one. It's still up there. Look. This is at 8 minutes past midnight on September 1st. So you understand what the point here is, that people had found the file. They took the password from David Lee's book and then started dumping the unredacted full set online. And then WikiLeaks published the full set, essentially republishing, okay, at this point. Now, at first, WikiLeaks, they put out a statement, an editorial condemning The Guardian, right? So let me zoom in for you. It says, a Guardian journalist has negligently disclosed top secret WikiLeaks decryption passwords to hundreds of thousands of unredacted, unpublished U.S. diplomatic cables. And then The Guardian actually responded with their own piece blaming WikiLeaks. Keep in mind, this is all on September 1st, okay? And it's really funny here how they say no concerns were expressed when the book was published. And if anyone at WikiLeaks thought this compromised security, they have had 7 months to remove the files. That they didn't do so clearly shows the problem was not caused by The Guardian's book. That's not true. They didn't have 7 months to remove the files. I just told you a few minutes ago, the mirroring of the WikiLeaks website, it started taking place in December of 2010. Okay? So even 2 months later, in February, when David Lee publishes his book, it's too late. You don't know how many people have copied it or taken the file by accident. And Glenn Greenwald, he pointed out at the time on September 2nd, in an article that he wrote, who the hell would publish the password anyway? I mean, this is so reckless in the first place to publish this password, even if it's a temporary password, as Lee claims he thought, or the Guardian also claimed, oh, we thought it's a temporary password. We were told that it would expire after. Why would you publish it anyway? Why would you do that? How can you be such a reckless investigative journalist? I mean, this is stupid. This is unbelievable. This is not bad OPSEC. They only did this because they're out to make a name for themselves. That's it. So this is completely not true, okay? And another thing that's worth pointing out here is they say no concerns were expressed. Well, maybe WikiLeaks didn't want to express any concerns and then let everyone know, hey, the file is out there, and if you go and read David Lee's book, you'll find the password. Although they did try to warn Hillary Clinton, right? There's a video of Assange, I showed it to you, where he calls up Hillary and tries to warn her about this when they realized what was happening. And then they were told, oh, call back a few hours later. So Professor Gotov is very clear. He says WikiLeaks did not publish first. You had the unredacted cables showing up on BitTorrent via Yoshimo and also on Cryptome, okay? And these were around 14 hours before WikiLeaks published anything. All right. Now, the prosecution, what they've asserted is that the reason they care more about WikiLeaks is apparently because WikiLeaks had a search function. And WikiLeaks drew attention, right? They had such a huge following at this point and so much reach that just by publishing this editorial over here, right, where they're condemning The Guardian for their stupidity, the prosecution is saying that this editorial right here that you're staring at, this, was reckless and it drew attention and amplified the leak. Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Because I can assure you, if Assange had not said anything, if he had not called Hillary Clinton, if WikiLeaks had not put out this editorial, you know what the prosecution will be saying now? They're saying, oh, why didn't you say anything at the time? Clearly you were trying to hide it. You can't win with them, right? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And interestingly enough, David Lee and I forgot the other moron's name was wrote the book with it. But David Lee and The Guardian get off scot-free, interestingly enough. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? And also open leaks, right? So dumb shite to bag. Yeah, he went off and started open leaks. Anyway, I just want to point your attention to something in this editorial. Even when WikiLeaks were berating Lee and The Guardian, they still did not publish the password. They just published a string of X's. Okay? And you got to understand, it's too late at this point. All the unredacted cables are already online. They've been published. It's over. So WikiLeaks thinking at this point was that, well, hold on a second. We better put this out so that not just intelligence officials and a select few have access to this, but everyone does, right? It's too late. So you got to understand the whole point of this is to try and show the court that WikiLeaks did not recklessly just decide to publish unredacted full archives for no reason. Their hand was forced, okay? There was nothing nefarious on their part. They did not publish the password, all right? They did not give out the name of the file or tell people this file was online and to go look for it. They did not intend for people to even get that file. And another point that Gotov raised is that it's normal, because you might be thinking, well, why was this file online in the first place, even if it's encrypted? Gotov explained this is normal to have encrypted files on temporary servers. Banks, hospitals, financial sector, they do this all the time to this day, all right? Once again, you need a key to open it. It's worthless without the key. Who published the goddamn key? David Lee. Not Julian Assange, not anyone else. It's him in his book. And this moron even made it the title of his chapter in the book, okay? Look at this. There it is. That's the password. I mean, what an idiot. At best, he's an idiot. At best. I honestly think this is just some kind of attempt for fame. I don't know what it is. Career climbing. Who knows? Look at me. I'm so important. I know the password. Or I know even a temporary password. Oh, this is so... Oh, God. So you understand now. And another important point, Gotov could not find any examples at all of the password being disclosed prior to publication of David Lee's book. There you go. That's it. It's really that simple. Now, moving on to after the lunch break. So the defense, they wanted Andy Worthington to testify. He's an investigative journalist. He's done lots of work with Guantanamo Bay. All right. He's done a documentary also on it. And he worked with the Gitmo files. And he wanted, the purpose of his testimony, as the defense stated, would have been to talk about the torture that took place in Guantanamo Bay, right? So immediately the prosecution, they object, of course, because they don't want to acknowledge any U.S. crimes. So just like when Khaled al-Masri was set to give his witness statement, they refused it. And then when he was supposed to testify, they also made a ruckus. So, and then they ended up taking the written statement because he couldn't get through with the video link because of tech issues. Yeah, sure. All right. Right when the CIA torture victim is about to testify, suddenly the video link doesn't work. Okay. So here, once again, the prosecution, they start making issue and they straight up said it's irrelevant. Like that's how much disdain they have for the victims of U.S. war crimes. It's irrelevant. What? What are you talking about? Unbelievable. Like they have no empathy or compassion whatsoever. Just robots, evil. So they were also objecting because they didn't inform them on time that Andy would be testifying today. But I mean, that's not their fault also. You know, this hearing was supposed to take place in February and then it got pushed because of the pandemic to now. And everyone, the whole schedule got messed up. And you got to take into account last week, even there was a COVID scare, right? So again, they had to rearrange the whole timetable. It's not like they did this on purpose. And I find it so ironic that they're complaining about last minute notifications. What about the last minute superseding indictment? The fucking indictment, not a witness. Anyway, so what ended up happening is Andy Worthington, he didn't actually testify himself. They read his statement, and actually there was a recess because they had to finalize the witness list. So the judge was like, you know what, go and just agree on who will be submitting a written statement and who will be actually testifying. And the prosecution like, oh yeah, all the witnesses, they're so repetitive. And I'm just thinking to myself like, yeah, maybe you should take a hint. Maybe they're all in agreement, these journalists, these lawyers, because they know a thing or two, and they all agree that this trial is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. That's why they sound so repetitive, because every single one of them is in agreement on this point. So anyway, they had to finalize this witness list. And, you know, it's interesting because the defense told the judge they want her to make a ruling on whether detainees were tortured in Guantanamo Bay. They want her to accept this. And she refused. Just like she refused with Khaled al-Masri to accept that he was in fact tortured. And I don't understand this, because in the case of al-Masri, at the very least, his case went to the European Court of Human Rights, and EU law supersedes UK law. So, I mean, it's not her place to deny the judgment of a higher court. Do you feel me? But at the same time, the prosecution, the way that they're trying to spin is that, oh, the United States was not a party of that case. Therefore, we object. Because if you look, it's right there in the case name. It's al-Masri versus Macedonia. And even though they talk about the CIA and they blame the CIA inside of the court ruling, the party that's held accountable is Macedonia, because they're an EU member state and they had to pay compensation, right? So that's the way that they've been working this. And even if you look at another case over here, Syria versus Poland, I mean, this was also clearly stating that this guy was tortured at Guantanamo Bay. Okay, so it's not just the European Court of Human Rights here, but we also have from the Senate report. So this was the committee study on the CIA's enhanced interrogation, as they like to call it. I mean, this is really graphic stuff. So it's not even a question of whether the judge agrees or not. These are facts. We have this established from the goddamn US Senate themselves, from the European Court of Human Rights. We don't need the judge to actually say whether she agrees or not. It's a fact already. It's been established. Anyway, we get to Cassandra Fairbanks. So man, this was explosive. So she was set to testify, and then they ended up just reading her statement because they came to an agreement, the defense and prosecution, that, well, yes, she is an Assange supporter. So, I mean, she's a Trump supporter, but at the same time, she's also been a strong advocate of Assange. And on those grounds, the prosecution, they protested, they objected, saying, well, look, because she's such a staunch advocate of Assange, you know, there's a clear bias here as usual. Like, she hasn't even testified yet, and they're already accusing her of bias. It's unbelievable. So anyway, there's also the issue of hearsay. because the statement that she gave was in regards to a conversation she had. And we actually have a recording of that, which they didn't play in court, but I will play to you in a second. Now, just to break this down for you in a nutshell, her statement was that she was part of this messaging group, okay, with a lot of Trump associates, people who were in the entourage. Anthony Schwartz, he told her that under orders of Trump, the former ambassador from the US to Germany, okay, so he would be getting Ecuador to withdraw their asylum plea, the asylum plea from Julian Assange. So Richard Greenwald, he was the one who would be tasked with this, getting Ecuador to withdraw the asylum plea. And moreover, that they will be going after Assange, not for the Vault 7 leaks, which are great, go and read them on WikiLeaks website, the CIA tech stuff, and not over the DNC leaks, but rather the stuff that Chelsea Manning leaked, okay? So Iraq war logs, Afghan war diary, that's what they would be going after Assange with. And everything he told her came true. And so she went to actually warn Assange. So Cassandra Fairbanks, she actually went to London, she went to the Ecuadorian embassy, she told Assange what was going to happen, that they were going to evict him from the embassy, that they're going to use the Chelsea Manning leaks against him. And she gets a call from Anthony Schwartz, and he's just raging at her. Let me just play you the phone call very quickly, all right? And you listen to what he's telling her. Here you go.
You're posting classified information on Twitter. You can't do that.
What? I'm not posting classified information.
Yeah, Rick. Yeah, that's classified. Yeah, Rick's role was classified. You can't do that.
ABC News already reported it. That's where I saw it.
Yeah, but not his role. You are posting things that are classified that no one knows and has not been reported.
That was reported by ABC News.
I know what was reported. I see what you're tweeting. What you're tweeting is not what was reported. Someone's going to go to jail. You need to stop this.
Yeah, Julian's in jail right now because of this.
I don't want to go to jail.
Well, I mean, I'll delete my tweet only because you're saying that you'll get in trouble.
I don't want to go to jail. Please, I'm begging you.
All right, I will delete it. I was just referring to the ABC News report.
But they look into you. They see that we speak. That's bad.
I mean, the reason.
He's taking orders from the president. Okay? So you're going to punish me because he took orders from the president?
I wasn't punishing you. I was tweeting from an ABC News report.
Okay.
Remember, I called you about it.
I'm begging you, please.
All right, I will delete the tweets.
Thank you.
He was taking orders from the president.
There it is, man. There it is. So, no wonder they wouldn't accept to play it in court because it's so incriminating. I mean, he's telling her on the phone that this is coming straight from Trump. So do you understand the magnitude of this, what this means, what the point here is? So if Donald Trump is directing the U.S. ambassador to Germany at the time, Richard Greenwald, to get Ecuador to withdraw the asylum plea and then evict and arrest Assange, and if he's directing the DOJ, the grand jury, to go after Assange with the Chelsea Manning leaks, that means the whole thing is political. Yes? Therefore, the trial should be thrown out. I mean, in any country, it should be thrown out under a wide array of laws. You look at the Interpol, you look at the UK-US extradition treaty, it says the same thing. There's no way you can justify him being extradited for a political trial under any kind of jurisdiction. Do you understand? So that's the magnitude of what she's saying and this conversation that happened and all of this stuff. And, they tried to get her fired. Also, Richard Greenwald, he just went nuts and tried to get her fired from her job as well. But just so you understand the whole point of this, it's political, in case that wasn't glaringly obvious. I'm sure that was already clear to most of you. But the president should not be interfering in such a manner, okay? And, he was telling her stuff also like, oh, Chelsea Manning and Assange, they deserve to die. And just, I mean, if that don't tell you it's a witch hunt, I don't know what does. But The guy is telling you in that phone call, and you can hear it. You just heard it. This is coming from the president. What more do you need? These are the two main points from today's proceedings, right? That WikiLeaks did not publish the goddamn archives until they were popping up on the internet already. All right? I mean, at best, if you want to play devil's advocate, you could say, oh, that was reckless to give the password to David Lee, who nagged Assange and badgered him. You could argue that at best, but there's no there's no ill intent here. And even then, I want to remind you, this is journalists we're talking about, okay? You can't prosecute journalists for publishing classified information, unredacted or not. There's no clause inside of the Espionage Act, which is being used against Assange, that specifically says, oh, you have to redact information about informants. It's not there. It doesn't exist. It's not even a law, okay? So you can't play devil's advocate with this in any way. It's a goddamn political witch hunt. So this is the main big point, the first one, that the file got out one way or another, not through WikiLeaks' fault. And even then, there was no way you could do anything with it if you don't have the password. Who gave out the password? David Lee in his book. And then The Guardian, they tried to let WikiLeaks take the fall. Like immediately just publishing this rebuttal and then the next day condemning WikiLeaks. Get out of here. You're the one. It was published under Guardian books, no less, with the password in there. How could you do something like that? How could you be so reckless? So that's number one. And WikiLeaks only started publishing 14 hours later after it was already online. It's already online. So the prosecution, they're just going after, the U.S. is only going after Assange and WikiLeaks, not because they were the first to publish the cables, because they weren't the first. They're going after them because it had the most impact, right? So WikiLeaks, obviously more famous than Cryptome or whoever's sharing it on BitTorrent, and allegedly, supposedly, having a search function means you deserve 200 years in prison. So that's the mental gymnastics we're dealing with here, right? How dare you implement the search function? And keep in mind, a lot of these are not even classified documents, okay? Keep in mind, a lot of these were not even classified. So, according to Goldhope. Now, regardless, even if they're classified, remember, we're talking about journalism here. Julian Assange is not a spy. WikiLeaks is not a hostile intelligence service, as Mike Pompeo likes to say. So, there's no ill intent here. They're not responsible for this. And they were not the first to publish the leaks. End of story. That's a fact. We have the timestamps. I just showed them to you. You can go and look them up yourself on Twitter. It's right there. Moreover, when it comes to Cassandra Fairbanks and what she was told by Anthony Schwartz, what happened with Richard Grenell, when they're saying this is coming from the president, immediately it's political. It's not something based off of, oh, this guy committed a crime. He didn't. You can't even argue that legally. But we have a phone call here, a recording of the guy saying it. He's admitting it flat out. So that's the gist of today's proceedings, right? And remember, this is just one among many, many issues that prove to you, that indicate that the entire thing is a political witch hunt. I mean, we didn't need to hear Cassandra Fairbanks' testimony, even though it's explosive. But my point is, we didn't need that to know that it's already a political witch hunt. Because, for example, last week on Friday, when Donald Trump is offering a plea deal, and it's like, we'll drop the charges if you give us the source. Yeah, that means he didn't commit a crime, did he? You're just going after him because you want the goddamn source. And when they're going after a journalist for publishing war crimes, things exposing torture programs, rendition, it's political. What else is it about? There's so many things. Do you understand? And this is just another brick in the wall, an explosive one, no less. So that's the gist of it. I hope that was informative, and there you go. That's the gist of it. So if you have any questions, feel free. I love how the video is already limited. You can see the yellow dollar sign, like, oh, you said Assange? Okay, hit him with the limited monetization or partial, whatever it is. By the way, I see we have 178 likes, but sorry, we have 178 viewers, but only 114 likes. So make sure you hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm. As you you just saw, YouTube is not exactly a fan of ours. So we got some super chats over here. Doug, thank you for the donation. Says, why would Trump betray Assange and his supporters who also want Julian free? Would that not backfire on him? Well, betray, you mean as in charging him, going after him with the DOJ, with this indictment? Well, this was a response to Assange, because you have to keep in mind, he's going and sending Charles Johnson, one of his associates, and Dana Rohrabacher in 2017 to meet with Assange in the embassy. And that's when they offered him this deal, right? And they told him, give us the source and it will be a win-win situation. You know, it's like how the mafia speak. It means we'll drop the fucking charges. That's what it means. we'll leave you alone. Julian Assange refused. And sure enough, a year later, actually the same year, they already got the grand jury going. They got the indictment ready. And, you know, what are we talking? A year and a half, April 2019, he's out of the embassy. So they got to work immediately. And keep in mind, they started going to work with UC Global as well, spying on him and keeping tabs on everybody who visited. So everything that happened in the last year in the run-up to Julian Assange's arrest was punishment because he didn't take the deal. It's really like the mafia. It's like in the movies, man. You know, you don't accept the compromise that we're offering you. Okay, we're going to kill you, or we're going to do something for you. You know, we're going to put you in life. We're going to put you in prison for life, 175 years. Do you understand now? I mean, I think this is ridiculous that he would even contemplate such a thing, Trump. I mean, this guy's entire life has been dedicated. Assange has dedicated his entire life to journalism, right? To exposing war crimes. I mean, this is the highest caliber of journalism, right? The best. And he expects him to just betray his journalistic integrity? No, man, come on. That's ridiculous. And that's why we have to respect Assange, because he's actually paying a huge personal sacrifice for this. Do you understand? It's not just about the journalistic integrity. There's also a physical toll, emotional and financial. I mean, this has been going on for a decade now almost. And the next coming days, we're going to hear actually from medical experts. So, you know, all of the witnesses we've heard so far, they've been journalists, human rights lawyers, constitutional historians, IT experts. So now we're going to hear about Julian Assange's physical health. So that's going to be very important as well. But there you go. I hope that answers it. So Anthony, thank you for the banana peel. Jean-Luc, thank you for the donation. Free Assange. CNN had Susan Rice on the other day. Oh, I almost threw up. Disgusting warmongers. Yeah, you saw how she lost it. Like, what is this, 2-3 weeks ago, when someone asked Trump if he would contemplate pardoning Snowden, and she lost it. She's don't even get me started, man. You already know. She's terrible. Levon Huey, thank you very much for this nice sticker. Number one fan. I can read it. Yeah. and Large Marge, I really appreciate the donation. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I mean, man, this whole this hearing is insane. It's really, at this point, I mean, every single witness, they all agree that in their respective fields and in their expert opinions, you can't proceed with this. No, it's unacceptable. It's wrong. It's illegal. It's unprecedented. No. And I mean, I think the fact of prosecution, Lewis, he said that, oh, these witnesses, they sound repetitive. Yeah, go figure. What do you think that means? Hopefully the judge pays attention to that. So there you go. That's it, man. That's it for today. If you guys found the coverage informative, make sure you follow on Twitter for tomorrow. There will be more live coverage. And, shout out to all the other amazing journalists covering this as well. Kevin Gostola. We got Juan. I think Stefani shit to stop for the moment. We'll get to that in a separate segment. You'll know why. If you read the Grayzone, you already know why. And, there's tons of people doing amazing work. Craig Murray's a former British ambassador. And, if you follow on Twitter, you'll get all the live updates. So make sure you do that. All right. We'll be back tomorrow with coverage of what happens then. And yeah, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you for the donations. And if you found the coverage informative, definitely consider supporting the show however you'd like, for as much as you'd like or as little as you'd like. Just scan the QR code with your phone and you're good to go. And I noticed, by the way, we are almost at 300 members on Patreon, which is insane. You guys, I know you guys want the crab dance, so we are getting very close to that. All right, the next one is coming. So thank you very much for that. And once again, friendly reminder that you should go and join, because you'll get a live notification when YouTube doesn't send it to you. So that's one benefit. All right. So with that said, Rockfin, I really, really implore you to join on Rockfin, because we don't want to leave everything centralized on YouTube. Big tech is dangerous. You know, they've been censoring Press TV, for example. They took down their YouTube channel a few days ago, and it's a mess. So definitely go and sign up there if you can, right? Rockfin.com/RichardMedhurst. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So I really thank you for your support and all the kind words, and thank you for tuning in and supporting this coverage of Julian Assange. There's not enough outrage or coverage or anything in the public sphere as there should be. So there you go. Glory says, check your PayPal. Hold on, I didn't get anything, so I don't know what happened. Bona, thank you so much. You're so sweet. She's putting the Richie in quotation marks. Yeah, that's my WikiLeaks name, right? Go look through the WikiLeaks. You'll find my real name. Thank you, Mona. It's really sweet. I really appreciate that. You are the MVP. You are the MVP. And we got one from Glory as well. It says Combo Couch chat gang reporting in. First of all, Richie, hair is on fleek. Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, you know, it's not the main topic, but nonetheless, I appreciate it. Second of all, YouTube is committing a damn crime against humanity. Having my up next video be a Mike Pompeo speech, that's what they recommend to you? Yo, man, I'm telling you something. This algorithm is doing this shit on purpose, because this is not the first time I hear this. I hear people, they be watching like Jimmy Dore, and then the next video is like MSNBC. What? No. Do you see how they've actually taken over and monopolized even the very few avenues that independent media have left? So it's not enough that they cover and blanket the radio waves and airwaves. No, now they want to steal the internet too. It's ridiculous. The algorithm is screwed up, man. Third of all, I don't know how people are keeping it together during this hearing. If I were in the Old Bailey, I'd be acting a fool. Same. Yelling with how much the prosecutors are getting their asses handed to them. Yo, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you already know, like I told you on the first day, that they kicked out like 40 different NGOs, human rights organizations, trial observers, journalists. They just blocked their access on the first day, even though they've been given access, right? I mean, me personally, I sent them several emails and I got no response. Like zero, not even a response. Oh, like it's not even fuck off. It's just nothing. So my point here is, I mean, not only is this the Old Bailey, but what's up with the whole principle of open justice is evaporated, it's gone. There's only very few, select few individuals who have been lucky enough to actually get access to the trial. And, you know, if you want to go there in person, they got 4 seats. 4 fucking seats. Can you believe that? And the issue is, like, you look at Craig Murray, for example, who's the former ambassador. They wouldn't even let him get a press pass. Like, he tried to join the Union of Journalists, right? The National Union of Journalists. And they wouldn't let him. Have you ever heard anything like that? So essentially, my point is, like, he has to go and queue up like from 5 a.m. in the morning to get one of those 4 seats in the viewing gallery. And you can't even take a fucking pencil with you. You can't even take a phone, a pad, nothing. So, like, I would gladly go and queue up at 3 a.m., but I know already there's Craig Murray who's taking that seat because they wouldn't even let him get into the press gallery or give him a press card or join the journalist union. So, I mean, there's already people that need those seats. I can't even do nothing, you know? It's just the whole principle of open justice has been thrown out the fucking window, and they're making sure, like as much as they can, that no one can even see what's going on inside of the courtroom, and that there's so few outlets even reporting on this on purpose. Because if people actually found out what's going on, I think they would be outraged. So, you know, even if you want to cover it, you can't. You legit can't even get in. It's ridiculous. It really is. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Transparent Media Truth. I appreciate it, and thank you, Doug, for the sticker. Just keep it up with the dumbbells. I got you. So, yeah, I hope this was informative for you guys, and I'm just taken aback. Every single day we hear from people in completely different fields who are seasoned veterans, and they are all in agreement that this cannot go forward. This is wrong. It's bad. It's unprecedented. It doesn't work. And it's like, how many days does the judge need to get this through her head, right? I don't think she wants to get it through her head, because if she actually had any kind of intention of actually implementing fair justice, she would have thrown this case out on day one. So there you go. We got Her Majesty's Court and Tribunal Service essentially being run by the United States Department of Justice. There you go. All right, guys. So I'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. I love you. Be good and take care. And thank you so much for supporting the show. All right.